Naruto is hope and forgiveness. Pain is understanding through shared suffering and pain. Most would say Naruto is correct, but is that actually true? Let's explore. Suffering changes people, sometimes slowly, sometimes permanently. We all experience suffering as humans in some way. Heartbreak, betrayal, loneliness, failure, grief. And over time, these experiences slowly begin reshaping people psychologically, not just emotionally, but philosophically. Naruto and Pain are powerful because they represent two completely different responses to suffering. Naruto, ostracized and treated like a demon. Pain, a victim of war and loss that had nothing to do with him. But one thing rings true for both of them. Suffering changes people. Betrayal creates distrust. Emotional neglect creates resentment. Repeated disappointment slowly creates a loss of hope in humanity. And the most dangerous thing about suffering is that eventually it can make hopelessness feel reasonable. Over time, humans naturally become more guarded, more isolated, more emotionally defensive, and eventually, some people stop viewing the world through innocence and start viewing it through survival. Some people stop expecting love and start expecting disappointment instead. But suffering doesn't always create the same result. One person can develop resilience after trauma. Another can allow unresolved trauma to become their entire worldview. And at the end of the day, suffering can lead people down completely different life paths, just like Naruto and Pain. Naruto is emotionally extraordinary, not because he never suffered, but because suffering never fully destroyed his ability to connect with others. His philosophy is pretty simple. Human connection and understanding can lead people toward peace. Naruto grows up isolated and rejected, yet somehow remains emotionally open. He grows up as an orphan, yet becomes the emotional anchor for many people throughout the show. He constantly seeks acknowledgement, love, and connection, instead of emotionally shutting down completely. And honestly, that's what makes him so inspiring psychologically. Because most humans would naturally become bitter after experiencing that level of rejection. Most people would naturally build emotional walls after being hurt that deeply. But Naruto didn't. He continued protecting others. He continued believing people could change. He continued choosing connection over hatred. Some of his qualities include resilience, emotional endurance, hope, understanding, and forgiveness. Naruto demonstrates what many would call agape love, a selfless and sacrificial form of love that refuses to answer hatred with hatred. As Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that." Naruto is the embodiment of that thinking. But what makes Naruto truly powerful is that he still experiences hatred. One key moment for him was when Jiraiya was killed by Pain. For the first time, Naruto experienced deep hatred and the desire for revenge. And honestly, that's what made him human. But when he finally received the opportunity to respond with hatred, he didn't. And that's what separated Naruto from Pain. Naruto felt hatred without allowing hatred to become his identity. And to me, Naruto represents the version of ourselves we want to become after suffering. But realistically, how many humans are actually capable of reaching that level of emotional maturity? Pain was actually very similar to Naruto in many ways. He also wanted peace. He He also believed in human understanding and connection, but repeated trauma slowly destroyed that hope. His village was constantly caught in the middle of war. He experienced suffering, helplessness, loss, and death over and over again. And eventually, he lost faith in humanity completely. Pain began believing that suffering is the only things humans truly understand. So his philosophy became, if humanity experienced equal suffering, then humanity will finally understand each other. And honestly, as dark as that sounds, I think many humans naturally drift towards this mindset after enough pain. Because when we suffer deeply, parts of us want the people who hurt us to experience the same pain they inflicted on us. Not because we're monsters, but because emotionally, we want our suffering to finally feel understood. Pain becomes very utilitarian in his thinking. He believes causing suffering now can eventually create peace later. And while that philosophy isn't morally perfect, psychologically it makes sense. That's what makes Pain such a terrifying character. He's not purely evil, but many humans can understand exactly how he became that way. Pain is what happens when suffering stops feeling temporary and starts feeling like the truth about humanity itself. When disappointment becomes expected, when trust starts feeling dangerous, when emotional connection starts feeling weak instead of meaningful. Naruto suffered and continued believing people could change. Pain suffered and stopped believing entirely. Most people think they will become like Naruto, but in all actuality, shift much closer toward Pain. Pain's philosophy feels more realistic because when humans hurt, we naturally want others to hurt too. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally. As the famous saying goes, hurt people hurt people. But Naruto's philosophy feels healthier. Not because it's easy, but because remaining emotionally open after suffering may be one of the hardest things a human being can do. And maybe that's why Naruto resonates with so many people emotionally. He represents something humans struggle with every day. How do we look at people who hurt us and still choose understanding? If everyone was able to respond like Naruto, maybe peace in our world would really exist. But how likely is that? Would constant forgiveness simply create more suffering because of being taken advantage of, leading more people toward becoming like Pain? Or could empathy and understanding genuinely change human beings? At the end of the day, that's the real philosophical conflict between Naruto and Pain. And I can say with certainty that there are moments where I feel more like Pain and understand his way of thinking too. Because after enough disappointment, remaining emotionally open can start feeling dangerous. But I would like to become like Naruto. And I think we all would. Maybe true strength is suffering without allowing suffering to completely destroy our humanity. And the real battle between Naruto and Pain is the battle every human being faces after they've been through enough. So, which road will you choose? The Naruto side or the Pain side? Who's right? Or is it all just perspective? Let me know what you think.